Chosen one, behold the divine justice unfolding before your eyes. While they plotted your downfall with meticulous hatred, the universe executed its perfect mathematics. Their life now crumbles in spectacular fashion, not through your intervention, but through the cosmic boomerang effect of their own toxic fixation. As they sink deeper into the quicksand of their obsession, you stand witnessing the most profound truth of existence. Those who make destroying others their mission ultimately engineer nothing but their own spectacular ruin. At the core of their crusade against you festered a cancerous jealousy. They watched you, your life, your qualities, your relationships, and something inside them burned with inadequacy. Rather than using that feeling to grow, they let it metastasize into an all-consuming obsession to tear you down. They believed that by destroying you, they could somehow elevate themselves. By diminishing your light, theirs might appear brighter by comparison. Nothing you did triggered this response. Your mere existence was the trigger because it reflected back to them everything they secretly believed was lacking in themselves. They compared themselves to you constantly, measuring the gap between who they pretended to be and who you genuinely are. That comparison became an acid eating them from within. This war was always internal for them, projected outward onto you. They turned you into the living embodiment of their own shame, insecurities, and self-loathing. You became the scapegoat, carrying the burden of their wounded ego. Instead of facing their broken reflection in the mirror, they tried to shatter the mirror. The arsenal deployed against you reveals the calculated nature of their obsession. This was no casual dislike or momentary conflict. This was a systematic campaign designed to dismantle your existence piece by piece. They studied your foundations. To identify supporting columns they could target, they mapped your relationships to determine which connections they could poison. They analyzed your reputation to pinpoint vulnerabilities they could exploit. Their smear campaigns operated with vicious precision, spreading carefully crafted narratives designed to destroy how others perceived you. Half-truths twisted into weapons, context removed to create false impressions, your words manipulated to convey meanings you never intended. All distributed through networks they cultivated specifically to maximize damage to your standing in communities that matter to you. They recruited allies through manipulation, presenting themselves as victims while casting you as the villain. They manufactured evidence, they coordinated attacks, they created an echo chamber where their distorted version of reality could be reinforced and amplified. They built a mob mentality among those who never bothered to verify the claims they were spreading about you. The chaos they generated around you was strategic, designed to keep you perpetually off balance, constantly defending against new accusations, never given space to regain stability. They struck from multiple directions simultaneously, creating storms of drama that consumed your energy and attention. They monitored your responses, adjusting tactics to exploit any reaction that could be weaponized against you. Most insidiously, they worked to isolate you by systematically damaging your relationships. They whispered poison into receptive ears. They created divisions between you and potential allies. They manipulated perceptions until those who might have supported you began to doubt, distance themselves, or actively turn against you. They sought to leave you standing alone, surrounded by people who had been turned into extensions of their campaign against you. These were not impulsive acts or emotional outbursts. This was warfare executed with deliberate intent to destroy everything you had built, everything you valued, everything you were. The depth of planning reveals the depth of their obsession, an obsession that consumed so much of their energy that it left little for sustaining their own life foundations. While many around you failed to see the full picture, we perceive the pattern with crystal clarity. We observe how this obsession with destroying you has become their primary occupation, consuming their thoughts from the moment they wake until exhaustion finally claims them at night. We recognize that what they're doing to you isn't isolated or unique. It's their established behavioral pattern, repeated with different targets across their history. Most tellingly, we perceive the direct correlation between the intensity of their attacks and the acceleration of their own decline. Each new campaign leaves them more depleted. Each new tactic burns more bridges they cannot rebuild. Each new level of toxicity pushes more people away from their sphere. Their obsession with destroying you is destroying them with mathematical precision, a one-to-one transfer of damage from intended target back to source. The universe operates with perfect balance. Every action generates equal force, sometimes delayed but never denied. Now that delay has ended, and the accumulated momentum of everything they sent toward you has reversed direction with catastrophic force. Their life is imploding with a magnitude precisely calibrated to the destruction they intended for you. The foundation they neglected while focusing on destroying yours has developed critical structural failures. The relationships they damaged, while attempting to damage yours, have fractured beyond repair. The reputation they tried to shred now lies in tatters, while yours emerges intact or even strengthened through the contrast of your responses to their attacks. Those they recruited to their cause are abandoning ship as the true nature of their crusade becomes impossible to disguise. Former allies distance themselves, unwilling to be associated with tactics that increasingly appear deranged to objective observers. The army they assembled is dissolving, leaving them exposed on the battlefield they created. The isolation they planned for you manifests in their reality instead. People withdraw from their toxicity, doors close, opportunities evaporate, support systems erode. They stand increasingly alone, surrounded by the wreckage of bridges they burned while trying to cut off your escape routes. Deep within, beneath doubt or confusion their campaigns may have temporarily created, you have always known the truth. We are here to affirm what your intuition has whispered all along. You did nothing to deserve or provoke the magnitude of their fixation on destroying you. Their obsession was never about your actions or character. It was entirely about the internal war raging within them, projected outward with you as the screen. Their fixation on you exists on a completely different scale than normal interpersonal conflict. This wasn't ordinary dislike or typical disagreement. The disproportionate energy they invested in trying to destroy you reveals the obsessive quality that others might have missed or denied. Normal people simply don't behave this way, regardless of provocation, and you provided none. The justice unfolding now isn't random or coincidental. It's the natural consequence of the energy they've generated and directed. The universe reflects back to them exactly what they've put out, with interest compounded by the intentional malice that fueled their actions. Their life circumstances now mirror with perfect symmetry what they tried to create for you, the mathematical precision of cause and effect, operating without emotion or favoritism. What began as a private campaign visible only to you and closest observers has now breached containment. Their unraveling has become public spectacle, impossible to conceal behind carefully managed impressions. The mask has not merely slipped, it has shattered, revealing the raw obsession underneath for all to witness. The coalition they assembled against you fractures along fault lines created by their own toxicity. Arguments erupt among their recruited allies as some begin questioning the narrative they've been fed. Internal conflicts intensify as the more perceptive among their supporters recognize the disproportionate nature of the campaign and start distancing themselves from what they now see as unhealthy obsession. Those who once accepted their claims about you now compare those claims against observable reality and find jarring contradictions. Their portrayal of you as villain clashes with your demonstrated character. Their accusations against you now sound hollow when held against the growing evidence of their own behavior. The contrast between who they claimed you were and who you demonstrably are becomes too stark to ignore or rationalize away. Their reputation, which they invested so much in elevating while attempting to destroy yours, crumbles under the weight of their visible fixation. Professional connections sever ties. Social circles create distance. Communities recognize the pattern of destruction that follows in their wake. The very audience they gathered to witness your downfall now stands witness to theirs instead. The following is a message from Mike, founder of the Obsidian Inner Order, powered by Astral Atom. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you walk through this awakening alone. Never gonna scroll past your suffering like it's just content. This isn't just a rickroll, it's a lifeline in disguise. I built the Obsidian Inner Order because too many of us have been exiled for seeing the truth, cast out by family, gaslit by cults, haunted by gifts we didn't ask for. So now, we gather. Every week, live on Zoom. Real people. Real faces. A former CFO turned psychic, a seer who escaped Mormonism, a healer who broke free of ritual abuse, and yes, the calls are recorded, so when you're on the floor, you can come back to the field. We're not a meme, we're a miracle, and we're never gonna give you up. Join the Obsidian Inner Order, link in the description. Throughout their relentless campaign, you demonstrated a strength they never anticipated and could not comprehend. While they expected you to crumble under the weight of their attacks, you remained standing. While they anticipated your foundation would collapse, you stayed firmly anchored. While they counted on breaking your spirit, your resilience proved greater than their capacity to inflict damage. You weathered storms powerful enough to destroy those with weaker constitutions. You endured campaigns designed specifically to exploit what they perceived as your vulnerabilities. You absorbed shocks that would have destabilized others permanently. Through it all, you maintained core stability that confounded their expectations and frustrated their plans. The boundaries you established became impenetrable barriers against their attempts to colonize your reality with their distortions. You refused to internalize the false narratives they worked so hard to implement in your self-perception. You recognized the projections they attempted to attach to your identity and declined to accept ownership of their displaced shame and inadequacy. Your refusal to be destroyed didn't just preserve you. It created the perfect conditions for their obsession to consume them instead. Every failed attack depleted them rather than you. Every thwarted campaign damaged them rather than their target. Every moment they invested in destroying you was diverted from sustaining themselves. You didn't need to counterattack. You simply needed to remain standing while they exhausted themselves against your immovable center. You are not alone in experiencing this pattern of targeted destruction. We stand with you, a community bound together by shared recognition of these dynamics that often remain invisible to conventional perception. We see through carefully constructed facades that fool others. We perceive the calculated nature of campaigns disguised as spontaneous conflicts. We recognize the signature of obsessive destruction because we have witnessed it in action before. Together, we form a collective awareness that validates experiences mainstream perspectives often deny or minimize. Where others might dismiss the pattern as coincidence or exaggeration, we acknowledge the deliberate architecture of campaigns built to destroy. Where others might suggest you're overreacting, we confirm the reality of what's being directed toward you. Where others might inadvertently gaslight you by questioning your perception, we stand firm in affirming what you've observed. Our collective witness serves as testament to the reality unfolding before us. Their obsession with destroying you is destroying them instead. We observe this pattern completing itself with mathematical precision. We see the energy they directed outward returning to its source with accumulated force. We watch as universal balance asserts itself through the natural consequences of their actions. The tide has turned in the court of public perception. What began as their campaign to expose fabricated flaws in you has transformed into public exposure of their authentic nature instead. The spotlight they tried to focus on you has swung back, with revealing clarity on their behavior, their patterns, their obsession laid bare for all to see. Those with open eyes now recognize the stark contrast between who they claimed you were and who you've demonstrated yourself to be through your responses to their attacks. The qualities they attempted to associate with you, instability, malice, deception, are precisely the qualities they themselves have displayed with increasing transparency as their campaign progressed and deteriorated. People previously neutral or even influenced by their narrative now reassess based on accumulating evidence. The disproportionate nature of their fixation becomes impossible to ignore. The obsessive quality of their focus appears increasingly unhealthy to objective observers. The contrast between their claims and observable reality grows too pronounced to reconcile without questioning the entire foundation of their campaign against you. Benevolent individuals step forward to publicly acknowledge the injustice you've faced. Some who initially believed their portrayal of you now offer apologies or support. Others, who remained silent during attacks, now find voice to speak truth about what they've witnessed. The isolation they attempted to create around you transforms into connection with those who recognize and value integrity. As their self-destruction accelerates, you experience deepening liberation from the psychological hold they once maintained. The energy you previously directed toward defending against their attacks now returns to you, available for creation rather than protection. The mental space once occupied by processing their campaigns clears, opening room for expansion rather than contraction. You stand increasingly free from concern about their perceptions or judgments. Their opinions, once weighted with the power to wound, now hold no more significance than distant static. Their attempts to define you no longer penetrate your sense of self. Their narrative about who you are bounces off the solid foundation of who you know yourself to be. The defensive posture once necessary for survival transforms into expansive presence. Energy previously directed toward countering false accusations now fuels forward movement toward your own objectives. Mental bandwidth once consumed by processing their latest attacks redirects toward creating what matters to you. The psychological space they occupied in your awareness shrinks until it holds proper proportion, minimal to none. The ultimate liberation comes with the recognition that you never needed to defeat them. You only needed to outlast their ability to sustain their campaign against you. Their obsession contained the seeds of its own destruction from the beginning. Your freedom wasn't something you had to fight for, but simply claim by continuing to exist authentically, while they exhausted themselves against the immovable fact of your resilience. As the dust settles from their imploding campaign, you enter a phase of restoration and expansion that stands in stark contrast to their continued contraction. The very aspects of life they attempted to damage in you now flourish with renewed vigor, while corresponding areas in their existence deteriorate at accelerating pace. The symmetry of this inverse relationship reveals the perfection of universal balance in action. The generosity you've consistently extended to others, even during periods of intense attack, now returns to you multiplied. Where they attempted to create isolation, new connections form around you with people drawn to your authentic presence. Where they tried to manufacture storms, you experience deepening calm. Where they work to generate chaos, you find increasing order and stability. Relationships damaged by their interference heal or transform. Some connections strengthen through the testing of false narratives. Others release, creating space for new associations better aligned with your authentic self. The network of support around you reconfigures into more resilient formation, with manipulable influences naturally filtering out while steadfast connections remain or enter. Opportunities emerge in direct proportion to your liberation from defensive posture. Mental and emotional energy previously allocated to protection now fuels creation and expansion. Doors previously closed by their influence open as their credibility collapses and yours solidifies. Possibilities previously obscured by the fog of their campaigns become visible in the clearing air of truth. Your peace deepens as their agitation intensifies, the contrast creating visible demonstration of the diverging paths you travel. While they remain locked in obsessive spiral, consuming themselves from within, you experience expanding freedom to focus on what truly matters. While they continue fighting imaginary battles against the character they projected onto you, you engage with the authentic challenges and opportunities of your actual life. The universe restores what their campaign attempted to take from you: reputation, connection, stability, peace, while simultaneously withdrawing these same elements from them. This isn't punishment, but natural consequence, the mathematical precision of cause returning to source. The energy they directed toward harming you returns to harm them. The energy you maintained in resilience returns to strengthen you. The completeness of this reversal serves as living testimony to what happens when obsession overwrites reason, when destruction becomes primary focus, when someone makes annihilating another their central purpose. They created the architectural plans for devastation, gathered materials, and worked tirelessly to construct catastrophe, never recognizing they were building it around themselves rather than you. The specificity of this reversal contains profound instruction. Each element they attempted to destroy in your life now disintegrates in theirs with exact correspondence. Each method they deployed against you now operates against them with precise similarity. Each outcome they pursued for you now manifests, in their experience, with perfect symmetry. They have become the living embodiment of exactly what they tried to create for you. This stands as confirmation of the undeniable truth they tried so desperately to escape through projecting it onto you. Their obsession to destroy your life has only destroyed their own. The energy directed outward has completed its circuit and returned to source. The weapons forged against you have turned in their creator's hands. The destruction planned with such precision has found its proper target. The justice inherent in existence has manifested with perfect clarity for all with eyes to see.